Vishvendra. Today I'll discuss effective preparation for competitive exams like JEE, NEET, UPSC, ND, etc. So let's focus ourselves on the process of studying. Suppose you are studying for JEE. So when you go to the class, there is a source of information which is external to you. So this source of information may be in the form of a teacher who is online or offline, or you are using self-study, using books, or you are using another sources, maybe some website or some YouTube video or something. But certainly there is certain source of information which is external to you, which is not within your mind brain system. So from that source of information, you connect to that source of information, and basically certain thing happens within your brain and the mind, and you are basically trying to transfer information from the external source to your internal mind brain system. So use it as and when needed, when asked in the when asked to solve questions in the competitive exam. So this is the very general algorithm or the process which is used when we study. Now let's talk about the components involved over here. So in studies, there is involvement of a source of information which is external to you, and brain, mind, and another concept is of the brain waves. So it's a game of four things: the source of information, use of brain, mind, and the coordination between brain and mind. And thing is that most of the focus is on the source of information. But ultimately, if you analyze things clearly, suppose there is a teacher and he is teaching a class of, let's say, strength of about 100 students. So certainly one student will be a topper from the top and another will be a topper from the bottom, rest of all lying in between. So here source of information is same, but why the output is different? Output is different because it involves use of brain, mind, and the coordination of brain and mind, which explain why students have different learning capabilities. They have different mind brain systems. The frequencies varies a lot. They have different focus span. They have different mental skills. So result is different because of the involvement of brain and mind, which is individual and customized as per the students. So ultimately the thing is about the coordination of the mind brain system of the students. Now let's see things from another perspective. So basically when we are studying, we are dealing with three things. The first is information, the second is the process, and third is the energy or emotions. And these three things, the triad of these three things constitute something which I call as the mind brain algorithm. And those mind brain algorithm are developing certain neural patterns, and those neural patterns are the basis of success in JEE and NEET. So in JEE and NEET there is about 9k neural patterns, including in physics, chemistry, maths if you ask for NEET, and in physics, chemistry, bio if you ask for NEET, and physics, chemistry, maths if you ask for JEE. To understand it further, let me ask you a certain question. What is unit of rate constant for first order reaction? So answer is second inverse. But just focus, just observe what happened within you. What happened during the time I asked you the question and you gave the answer. So that something which happened within you is a mind brain algorithm. So you must have, when I asked you a question, your brain, information got transferred to your brain through your ears. It activated the temporal lobe of the brain, and you just contacted with the unconscious mind to, uh, you know, retain this specific information. And if you were able to transfer the information within you, you must be able to decode that it is the second inverse. Let's take another example. After what time concentration becomes 1 by 64 of the original? So you must be able to retain the fact that after n half lives, concentration is C divided by 2 raised to power n, and it is given to be C by 64. So here 2 raised to power n is 64, so n comes out to be 6 from here. So time will be 6 times the t half. So this is another question. So you must have felt a bit complex algorithm. You must have felt a bit of anxiety or a bit of stress, because it involves multiple lobes of the brain. Let's try to think on another question, that after what time concentration becomes 1% of the initial. So using the same concept, 1% means C by 100. If we equate these terms, we have 2 raised to power n is 100, taking log both the sides, and after calculating, we have finally n is equals to 6.57. So it involves more complex questions, more calculations, more use of logarithm, and finally the time comes out to be 6.57 times t half. So just try to feel what happened within you when you solved these different types of questions. And I think you must have realized that first question is easiest, second was a bit complex, and third was the most complex question. So every time when we solve a question, our mind brain system follows an algorithm, and our ability to get answers and solve the question is about the efficiency of that mind brain algorithm. So the entire turning point here is developing those mind brain algorithms so that you can solve complex questions. So which is the central point of effective preparation. So always do remember, when you are studying, focus on what is happening within you. Focus on each process and especially your emotions. Because studying is technically formation of certain neural patterns, use of brain mind, and especially the use of the subconscious mind. If you want to know more, you can refer to my book OST by Acharya Vishvendra. It's available on Google, Amazon, Flipkart, and Ocean Press. I have also compiled the same video with the same name, OST by Acharya Vishwanath, in which I have discussed the technicalities involved and especially the brain mind coordination, and in that use of the subconscious mind, which is a secret to crack GE NEET. So ultimately, you are yourself a mind brain algorithm, which involves use of information, process, and energy. And only those students can crack GE NEET or any other competitive exams who have mastered their algorithms, who have worked on the efficiency of their algorithms, and have, developed a system in which they can fetch information, they can give answers to certain number of questions, which are, let's say, a total of about 50k questions in physics, chemistry, maths, or physics, chemistry, bio. The average is same. So JEE NEET is all about the retention of those 50k questions, as simple as that. So the central task is how to fit those questions in your mind brain system. It's not a one day task. You cannot memorize all the questions. You need to use different parts of the brain, different lobes of the brain, and have to form a system of mind brain algorithm which activates multiple lobes of the brain, the frontal, temporal, parietal, and occipital, and use of mind brain coordination, and especially the use of subconscious mind. So if you are studying, just focus, just observe the process happening within you, and try to make that process strong and complex. Only then you will be able to crack JEE NEET by answering questions. Because if your mind brain algorithm is weak and simple, you will never be able to focus on solving the problems. You will be easily distracted, multiple lobes of the brain will be activated, and you will not be able to decide whether you need to think, whether you need to learn, whether you need to memorize, or whether you need to analyze. Because when you solve a particular question, all the parts are simultaneously activated, and you have to put them into series combination, because our brain is not designed for parallel processing. So that switching mechanism from parallel to series leads to stress, anxiety, depression. That's why most of the students don't like to study, because multiple parts of the brain get activated at the same time and you don't know whom to focus on. So it's like you are doing 10 things simultaneously. So here the trick is to manage the parallel connection into series connection, and completing 10 tasks in a series and completing one task at one time. This is how things can be done. So here what I want to do is that let's conclude things in a nutshell. So you just need to focus on the process when you move from question to the answer. So this process is the key to success in JEE NEET, and the process involves problem analysis, then problem decoding, then pattern retention, then calculations, and finally the answer. So if you really want to crack JEE NEET, It's not only about studying subject, studying physics, chemistry, and maths. It has to do something more fundamental, something with your brain mind coordination, something with your ability to transform the parallel processing into the series one. Only then you'll be able to get answers and correct questions. So if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.